Hey guys, today I want to talk about the most hated system in Lost Ark, and that is elixirs. And I want to talk a little bit about this because I was in Vegas this weekend and I was like, damn, people love gambling, but for some reason they absolutely hate elixirs. And of course there are many reasons for that, but I think one of the reasons that I've thought about was really around the fact that elixirs just feel really bad to do. It's not that people hate gambling, it's just that it just doesn't feel good to cut elixirs. So I wanted to go over a couple things that I think that they should address when they are going to eventually nerf elixirs. And hopefully you guys agree that some of these are going to be some good ideas. Of course, these are my ideas and, opinions are opinions. So feel free to let me know what you think down in the comment section below. But let's get started. So I think the first place, right? I think the most people will agree that the expensive cost of elixirs is one of the biggest issues when it comes to cutting them. I think that people just don't have enough gold to cut elixirs, especially in the place that we are right now in Lost Ark here in the West. Our systems are way accelerated, things are coming way quicker, and as a result, we just don't have enough gold to cut elixirs. So first, decrease the gold cost of elixirs. So what does that look like? I think that one, they should just completely get rid of the ductility catalysts, right? Just get rid of them. We don't need them. Second thing, purple elixirs. I think that purple elixirs should just cost silver. Don't charge gold for them. They will be at a perfectly fine place if you don't charge gold for them. And then legendary elixirs, make them cost the same amount as purple elixirs. I think it's like 40 gold a cut. So I think that if we decrease the gold costs to those costs, the game and elixirs will feel a lot better to cut. I personally don't really find a problem when cutting purple elixirs. I don't really think about the gold that I'm using. So I think that's the case for most people. So if we just bring legendary elixirs down to the cost of purple elixirs, I think that we'll have a much better time cutting elixirs. Next is going to be the stats. So when you're rolling for elixirs, you start off by selecting stats. I think that one of the worst feeling things when cutting elixirs has to be when you get a full elixir of bad stats. Some Master of Escape, some Blessing of Life, some like Potion Poisoning, Max MP, HP elixir. That just doesn't feel good, right? The moment you go in there, you're like, damn, I gotta re-roll this elixir already. Gotta go for that reset. I think that minimum elixirs should have at least 2 good stats for your class. So whether that be like attack power, weapon power, strength attack power, whatever it might be, right? I think that at a minimum, you should have at least 2 good stats for your elixir, because I think that's when everybody's like, okay, I think this elixir is good to cut. The moment that you have a situation where you walk into an elixir and you're like, wow, I will just not get anything good out of this, I think that that is a really bad feeling moment, and we should just get rid of that. So make it so that if you roll 3 stats that are bad, right? Just make it so the next 2 are good stats. Plain and simple. Next, get rid of minus lines. So, the -2 +2, exhaust -4 +5, just get rid of those. Make it so that instead of it's -2 +2, make it +0 +2. I think that that is a much better way to do it, because it just always feels so bad when you click on one of those and you're just like, well, there goes my elixir, I was -2. Or it's like, I click on Granny to exhaust and it's like -4. I think that any minus stats in the game, you should just be able to get rid of. Make it +0 +2. And you could say like, oh, that'll make it too easy, right? Well, I don't think anybody's saying that. But I think that HES or Smilegate will probably be saying that, hey, that's just too easy for the players if there's no minus stats, right? Because when it's minus stats, there's 5 selections for -2 +2, right? There's a 20% chance for -2, 20% for -1, 0, 1, 2, right? Well, if you make it 3 stats, then it's going to be 33% 0, 33% 1, 33% 2. So it's a higher chance of getting 1 and 2, right? While I don't think that's a problem per se, I think that if I were in their shoes and they were concerned about that, just make it so the 0% is like the percentages stay the same, right? 20, 20, 20, 20. But the thing is, it's 20% for +2, 20% for +1, and then you could add the 3 together of -2, -1, and 0, and make it 60%. 60% plus 0, 20% plus 1, 20% plus 2, something like that. That would make it just feel a lot better when I click on a stat and I know that I won't get a minus line on it, because sometimes those -2 lines end up completely breaking those elixirs and making it feel super bad. And on the same area as that, as I mentioned, making it so that the sages don't have the minus lines either. And in addition to that, I think that the worst feeling about clicking on an exhaust for the sages, right, is that when you get a minus or a 0 or something like that, and then you get nothing, and the sage disappears. Make it so that when you do the exhaust, if the sage fails to give you anything, don't make it disappear. Don't make them disappear. If they fail, then they stay. And you still have your 3 sages, because there have just been so many times where I've clicked on an exhaust, I burn the sage, I don't get a single thing, or a minus, and it disappears, and I'm just like, all right, this elixir's done. I can't use it anymore. Make it so that the sages don't disappear, don't exhaust if they fail. Now, the other thing, and I think we're getting to kind of the main points of this video, and it's these last 2 ones I think are very important. The first one is a very simple one, and it's just skip animations. I think that elixirs take way too long to cut right now. It takes so long to wait for that whole that animation, and honestly, just let me skip it. Just like honing, they have figured out that people don't like watching the honing screen. They don't like watching that little wind up into explosion, right? Make it so that if I click on the screen again, I can just skip the animation of the sage, and it'll make the elixirs go a lot faster. Now, it's not a perfect solution, but I think that that will help and go a long way with making elixirs a lot more enjoyable, because I don't like how it just takes an hour to cut an my elixirs after going into Voldus. It just never feels good. So make it so that you can skip the animations to cut everything down and make it quicker. And the last thing I think is the most important thing on top of like decreasing the gold cost really has to do with the fact that we have no pity system for our elixirs right now. Every single other vertical progression has some sort of pity, whether it be honing itself having a pity to hit 100% hone, whether it be transcendence with the grace stacks, or you can even talk about like cards and how you can get selectors for cards and make it so that you don't have to entirely rely on RNG to be able to get the cards that you want. Elixirs have no pity system, and I think that's a problem. So here's my solution to that. Make it so that you can actually farm a stat. For example, let's say I really want critical for the helmet. I can click, this is the desired stat, right? And every single time I roll an elixir and I don't get that line, the pity stacks for that line goes up and up. So every single subsequent elixir I cut has a higher % chance of me finding that stat until eventually you get 100%, and the next elixir that you cut will have that stat and you can click on it. And then finally, I think that there should be a pity for the amount of points that you get on an elixir as well. So if you think about it this way, for me, and I think for most people, the goal for epic elixirs really is 35 set. 40 set is attainable, but it's really hard. So 35 set, I think, is the goal for most people for epic elixirs, and then 40 set for legendary elixirs. And then we think about how many points we need for that. So on average, for 35, you really want to have 7 points on elixir for all 5 of your pieces, right? So it's like a 4-3. So for epic elixirs, every single time you don't get a 7-point elixir, that adds to the pity stack. And then for the legendary elixirs, every time you don't get an 8-point elixir, that also adds to the pity stack as well. So how does this look like, right, in terms of what the pity is? Well, I think that when you pity an elixir, or when you hit a pity stacks, after a certain number of stacks, you start being able to start the elixir off by just immediately sealing one selection. So how do the 5 little points, the little stats that you can choose from, seal one of them at the beginning? So you're only cutting an elixir with 4 stats. Now, You fail again, you fail more, you start getting up more pity, then it goes down to 3 stats. I think that at 3 stats, that is the perfect number for cutting a good elixir. I think that 2 stats would be kind of too OP. Like, you're pretty much guaranteed a 5/5 at that point. So let's keep it at 3. Make it so that you can go start by sealing 1 stat, and then if you keep failing, start failing. You can seal 2, and then just cut with 3 stats that you need to choose from. And I think that that would be a really, really good system for implementing pity. First of all, as I said, you can farm 1 stat. If you don't get that stat after a certain number, well, after every time, it adds to the pity and it increases the chance of getting that stat line in the next one until you're ultimately guaranteed to get that stat. And then 2, adding a pity system for the amount of points so that eventually you can start sealing the stats when you start. I think that those would be great systems to add into the game to make it so that elixirs are just more enjoyable. Because at the end of the day, I think elixirs are a fun system. But it's just that there's so many feels bad moments when you're cutting them that it goes from a fun system to a very tedious and annoying system as well. Of course, those aren't the only ways to fix elixirs, and I kind of chose some ways where I feel like it would still be good for Smilegate as well, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to make money on the game, right? You want to make profit. If the game's not making profit, that means it's dying. So make it so that they're meeting in the middle, finding ways to where it's enjoyable for players, but also still going to be profitable for Smilegate at the end of the day. Let me know down in the comments section what you think about my opinions and what you think about these fixes that I suggested. And if you have any fixes of your own, please let me know down in the comment section below. I know there's plenty of others like, 35 set instead of 40 set, and then 30 set instead of 35 set, things like that. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please remember to hit the like button, hit the sub button, ring the bell for notifications, and also I stream every single night on twitch.tv/MisoxShiru. So hopefully I see you guys on my stream, but if not, hopefully I'll see y'all on the next video. All right, guys, peace out.